We got there in the end.
So, hi, Ryan. Thanks a lot for
Hello.
being here.
Now, thank you for having me.
Thank you. So now we are here with Ryan from Great Ghoul today, and we
Thanks a
are
lot.
really, really happy to talk to him. That's basically about the new album. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And first of all, I would like to ask you. We usually try to have a brief introduction of our guest, and we would like to ask you if you could introduce a little bit about yourself and how you approached your genre, the music in general, and how did you grow up with this idea in your mind and blah blah blah. Yes.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll start with the music. So my family's always been, kind of musical. Like my parents used to way back when I was really little, they used to play in like a brass band. They've always been in like choirs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've got two older brothers as well. They've both like been musical as well. So the youngest of my two brothers, he was a drummer, and my eldest brother, he was also like I can't remember what instrument he played, but he was also in the brass band for a little bit. But it was the younger of the two brothers that also listened to metal, right? That he was into like new metal and stuff like that back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So when I was little, I'd, go into his bedroom and like really annoy him because there's 11 years between us. So he was like, early teens and I was just like maybe 3 or 4, something like that.
Yeah.
So I'd sneak into his bedroom when he was listening to stuff like Limp Bizkit and stuff like that. And,
That's great.
and because of how young I was, I used to find it really, really funny when, the funny man on the radio swearing a lot. You know, it basically just like anything that he'd be listening to, anything that he'd be putting on the TV or anything like that, I get into that, and that's how I discovered bands like Slipknot and stuff like that. So that's what started me on metal. But then eventually getting into death metal, like it always intrigued me because Slipknot have always got all their like really heavy parts. They've got the blast beats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember one day after school, I went into a shop and I saw a special issue of Terrorizer magazine,
Yeah.
and it was like a death metal special one. It had like on the cover there was like a zombie with long hair holding a guitar. It almost looked like like a Cannibal Corpse cover that Vincent Locke had done, and it came with a compilation CD where the first track was Hammer Smash Face. And then since then, like I was like getting into death metal from there, basically. So yeah, and then like basically getting into like playing music as well. That was an early teen thing. I always wanted to play guitar, and I got my first guitar when I was about 12.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
Was a particular guitar? Do you still have it?
No, I don't have it. It really wasn't very good. It was a bright blue, like kind of Strat copy. It really wasn't very good. But I didn't get my first proper guitar for maybe about 3 or 4 years after that.
Yeah.
Like I remember for my birthday, I was like, no, I want a proper guitar. So I actually went into the shop with my parents this time, and I picked it out. So it was a lot nicer. But yeah, and yeah, pretty much that's how I got into music.
Amazing. And I mean, how did you how did Grave Goal came to life? Like how did, what come to life? Yes.
So before the pandemic, I was playing in like some black metal bands, right? We were playing shows, we were recording stuff, but then the pandemic hit and everything stopped, right? Including that band, pretty much. We stopped doing everything because we had a tour booked for the April of 2020. But that's obviously when everything started to shut down.
Sure.
So then, that all had to cancel and everything like that. So then, I've always had like recording stuff at home as well because I studied music in college and everything like that. So that's what I enjoyed doing. And instead of like, I was starting to get a little bit like not like tired of the whole black metal thing because I still listen to black metal every now and again,
Yeah.
but like because I've always loved death metal, I was like, I've always wanted to do some death metal stuff, So that's when I started recording for my other project, which is called Seven Doors, which is another like horror themed death metal project that I had. So then that was a thing for a couple of years, and then in 2023, I think it was, is when, or no, it's 2022 when Tenebro brought out their first album, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, Hannes won't mind me saying this because he knows I'm a little fanboy, but if I was completely obsessed with that first album, and like I'm a huge Mortician fan and everything like that. So, and I thought, right, so Seven Doors is a bit tricky, right, to try and like get live members and play shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, I'll start a new project where the riffs are a bit simpler. You don't need more than one guitar player because, there's no like harmonies or solos or anything like that. And, just have it really disgusting and chuggy. So that's when I started Grave Ghoul. And yeah, I remember the first time I sent Hannah's the demos, he was like, hang on, this sounds like Tenebro. I'm like, whatever. So it basically came from me trying to rip off Hannah's, basically. So.
Sounds nice.
And so, just talking about your EP and the album. So, first was like the Living Buried Ground, right?
Yeah.
And that you did everything by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So every record, everything that is inside, it's all about you. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
And after the House of Dead Flesh, and yes, last Growton and Microberry. So it's really interesting that you have like this new album coming like the 31st
right?
October.
Yeah, comes out on Halloween.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Can you please talk about this album and tell us about the story behind and about the tracks and everything, please?
Yeah, sure. So with the first two EPs, I just wanted something to sound as if it came out in the 90s. Like that's always the production I was going for with that. Like, it just sounds really like lo-fi or like kind of difficult to listen to in a way, I guess. But then, like when it came to, seeing some of the other stuff that was coming out on Dismal Fate, like Mortuary Ghoul, for example, he's like got that really huge but still disgusting sound. So I thought with the album, I wanted to step it up a little bit, so that it didn't just sound like, it didn't just sound like a 90s demo. Yeah. So then, I kind of found or like made some new like guitar tones and like drum sounds and stuff on the programs that I use. And then that's when, I started coming up with the riffs for it. But yeah, no, the story behind it is, or like the themes, it's basically just old horror movies. Like Hannah's pointed out to me yesterday when we were on the stream that the majority of the songs on the album are about Italian horror movies. Like there's only one or two that are like, like the single that we brought out a couple of weeks ago is about the Evil Dead, and there's one in there that's kind of about Slumber Party Massacre, but kind of not. You'll get that when the album comes out. But yeah, like the majority of the songs are about like Italian horror movies because that's one of my favorite things as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but like production wise, the Mortuary Ghoul put a post on his social media saying that he was offering mixing and mastering services, and like he wasn't charging very much. So I jumped right on that. I was like, "You're mixing my album."
Yeah.
he didn't really get much of a say in it. As soon as he put that post up, I was on him. I was like, "Right, you." So yeah, that's how that came about.
Sorry, did you always have like a connection with the horror movies or stuff like?
Yeah, so that's another thing that came from my eldest brother. So he was always into like horror films and stuff like that. And I remember seeing John Carpenter's Halloween and the original Night of the Living Dead at a very young age, and they scared the shit out of me. You know, I was terrified. I must have been about 5 when I saw them, and yeah, it was horrifying. But then getting back into it, when I was in my early teens, you know, it was not long after Rob Zombie brought out his remake of Halloween.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm well aware now that it's not a very good movie, but back then when I was a teenager, I was like, yeah, I fucking love horror films. As far as the getting into Italian horror films, that came like later, like in my late teens. Like I got around to watching Cannibal Holocaust for the first time, and then eventually got around to like checking out Zombie as well. You know, so that's where that whole journey into Italian horror started as well.
Yeah, that's great. And your music, it clearly not to like Mortician, Autopsy, or Impetigo, stuff like that. It's your like your main bands that you have inspiration from.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. It's like anyone that like perfectly blends like horror and just disgusting death metal is what I go for. You know, obviously Mortician's always an obvious one. Impetigo, Necrophagia as well to a certain extent. So, you know, and definitely Autopsy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask if you define your style, like genre, in a
if you have
if you define in a particular way, or if you prefer to recognize in
What, as in the style of music, or
yeah, exactly.
just oh, I've never really been asked that before. I mean, like, I can't really narrow it down because like the Grave Ghoul stuff's got you know like your classic sludgy death metal. It's got some doomy parts in there. There's even some grind in there as well. So I guess just horror themed death metal really. That's the only thing that I can really use to describe it.
Sure. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, and so as you say, the horror movies are your main how can I say? So it's the
inspiration.
Yeah, the main inspiration. But when you start like making a new song, like you start from seeing a movie, so some particular scene of the movie, or just you take the guitar and start doing some riffs, and after you can mix it.
I mean, it's pretty much that. Like the theme for the song, that doesn't come until like much later. You know, like I didn't have any themes for any of the songs on this album until it came to actually sitting down and writing the lyrics, because all the music was there, and then while I'm listening to the music, that's how I write the lyrics. So, like the way that a song comes about is I'll have some riff ideas.
Yeah.
And the way that I write and record at the same time. You know, so I'll sit there at my computer with Cubase open, and everything. And like I'll come up with a riff, and then I'll program the drums that will fit that riff, and then that's how the song's done. You know, like after the riff's done and it's recorded and it sounds good and everything like that to the drums, I'll think, right, what'll come next? You know, and then pretty much when the whole album was finished and I had all 11 songs, I was like, right, time to write lyrics, I guess. I hate writing lyrics. You know, like lyrics is the worst thing about doing everything by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I completely understand you.
And the drum part in the first EP that you did everything by yourself, it was recorded by you, or just like an electronic drum?
It was all programmed. It's all drum machine.
Yeah.
The same is the same on the album as well. It's all drum machine.
Yeah. Yes.
And from UK, do you have some particular bands that you can suggest or for your inspiration?
Any particularly UK bands that I can suggest for inspiration? Not so much as inspiration, but like some other like horror themed bands that I'm like quite close with, I suppose. Is there's Trenchfoot from Liverpool that are really good to check out. Rancid Cadaver from Scotland, Abysmal Decay from Scotland. Their drummer and vocalist is also the bass player in Grave Ghoul.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, we're all kind of mixed in together. Brain Bath, I have to say that because Kenny's in the chat. Um, Gouger as well from Scotland. It's mainly Scottish bands. That's where it's all happening at the moment in the UK.
Yeah.
Unless you're really into like brutal death metal and slam and stuff like that. That's the best stuff is coming from Scotland, in my opinion.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice,
that's great.
lovely, lovely. And I wanted to ask a more like a more practical thing, like how for you, like what is the importance that you give to the physical format like, of your music, like of course cassette, vinyl stuff. Can you explain us how you manage this and how you like it?
Well, the way that I manage it is like I'm quite lazy when it comes to that, so I just let the labels deal with everything. You know,
Okay.
like when I was like
Then,
when I started my other project, like I released the first EP at the start of 2021, and it was just going to be like a Bandcamp thing and on Spotify, just a completely digital thing. It wasn't until a couple of labels reached out to me with the idea of releasing it physically that I was like, do you know what? That's not a bad idea. So I had
yeah,
Redefining Darkness reach out to me about doing the tape for that, and then Cavernous Records here in the UK reached out about doing a CD, and then I was like, okay, so that's how you get stuff made without skinting yourself, because I didn't have a lot of money at the time, and
Yeah.
I thought, I have no idea how to go about like getting the physical media printed either. Like the closest thing that I deal with on that sort of front is printing T-shirts.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's the only way that I know how to sort stuff out. So other than that, I let the label deal with it. But like having physical media, I do feel is very important. Because like then again, I say that because a lot of my friends, they're like big collectors. Like
yeah, yeah.
anytime like Kenny, who is probably still in the chat, I think like anytime I bring something out, he demands a physical release of it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
He,
it's
he's,
very, very
he's
cool.
always he's always happy to throw his money at me. There, Hannes is in the chat as well. See, I just let him deal with it. Pretty cool. So,
Yeah. And
Yes.
how long it took to record your album, your last album?
so the album that's coming out, I think it took me maybe about like because I work full time as well. Like I work like 3 to 4 days a week. I do like 12-hour shifts. So
Wow.
I don't get as much time to like write and record as I used to. But I'd say it probably took me overall about 3 or 4 weeks to write and record everything. That's
Okay.
vocals included, but then waiting for some of the guests to like send
Yeah.
over their parts. That took a little bit longer. But once I had everything, it was yeah. Overall, it was about a month, I'd say.
Yeah.
So
And
Nice.
and talking about your music, do you feel closer like to the American scene or European scene for your genre?
I'd say probably the American scene because I've always like been influenced by like Chuck Schuldiner and like James Murphy and stuff like that as far as my guitar playing is concerned. And the same with like Mortician as well, with all of the like really low chuggy riffs, you know.
Yeah.
But like I'm also a huge fan of Entombed and all the Swedish stuff as well. But yeah, mostly it comes from like the US
Yeah.
for
Okay.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you ever thought about composing an original soundtrack, like for an independent horror film or something?
Okay, so
Well, yeah.
that is something that I would love to do because another one of my projects, I do like horror synth soundtrack music, right?
Ooh.
And like, I've done a couple of intros and like interlude tracks for bands and stuff like that who want like that 70s, 80s like John Carpenter, Fabio Frizzi kind of sound like as an intro and interlude. But like to score like a movie, I'd love to do that. So, if anyone's watching that makes horror films, I'll do your music.
Exactly. Exactly.
And So you're also preparing a tour for this album?
Yeah. So in just under 2 weeks, we'll be playing our first headline gig in Glasgow with a couple of bands. We got Cremulation that come from Wales, Abysmal Decay, who I mentioned earlier on, and a band called Engulfed that haven't played in about 30 years. So we've got that coming up. And that's kind of like the warm-up gig to the tour in Italy that we'll be doing at the end of October. So
Nice.
Cool.
so basically after we played our first gig this January, obviously like Tenebro was there as well because I played guitar in Tenebro for that show as well, and I will be on this tour, so it's going to be a busy tour for me.
Nice.
But basically, when we got back after the festival, Hannah's was messaging me and said that they were sorting out a tour, like a short Italian tour for like October going into November with the grind band Grumo from Italy as well. And yeah, he pitched me the idea of getting Brave Ghoul on the tour as well. And like I've never been out of the UK, you know. So when that question came to me, I was like I was both excited and terrified, and I'm still feeling that as well, you know.
Yeah.
It took me so long to get my passport sorted and everything like that, but luckily it's all sorted now.
Yes.
But yeah, like it was pretty much. I had to message the other guys in Grave Ghoul first, and they both instantly came back to me and said, "Yes, do it." So I was like, "All right." So yeah, that's how we managed to get on that tour.
That's great.
Wow, that would be amazing anyway. So I mean, it would be many dates, I think, right? Combined, all you have to do is would be kind of long.
Well, we're doing 3 dates in Italy. So so we'll be flying in on the day before the tour starts, and we start off in Verona. The second date is in Bologna, and then we're finishing off in Rome. And we'll either be flying back home the day after, or we'll be staying and doing some touristy shit for the day, and then going home the day after that. So,
Yeah.
I don't think you will have much time to sleep, actually. Maybe to eat.
No, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I could sleep through anything, so even if we're traveling, I'll probably be fast asleep.
Yeah. Nice. Can I ask you, I mean, during your experience, your shows that you ever done in your career, is there anything that is being really, I don't know, the craziest moment, the most memorable thing that you can recall and maybe share with us?
I mean, I think as far as shows that I've played, not a lot of them have been very crazy because I've mostly played shows in black metal bands, and normally people at black metal shows they just stand and just
watch.
There's not a lot going on, but like the show that we played in January in Glasgow at Dead of Winterfest, like that was the first time I had people running up behind me, stage diving, crowd surfing, and stuff like that, and that was just really, really cool to see. But I think maybe during the Tenebro set, I remember, I think it was the second song in the set we were playing, and I turn around and I just see Hannah's just unload a goblet of fake blood all over himself. That was kind of wild to see. It was cool, but it was very sticky. A lot like I had blood on me as well, and it was very, very sticky and slippery. It was mental.
Amazing.
But,
I like it.
yeah, all the mad stuff happens in Scotland, I'm telling you.
We should go more in Scotland.
Yeah, really.
We have been, I think, 3 times, maybe?
No, 4.
4 times? Yeah. So we need to come back to Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
well, we've got a show in a couple of weeks if you guys want to come along to that. So
yeah, it would be amazing.
It would be great.
And do you have like collaborations, like split tapes or something like this? Do you do?
I'm always open to doing splits. We are well, with Grave Ghoul, we are working on like doing a split with a Gouger from Scotland. Like nothing's like I'm pretty sure all the music's done. We just need to stop being lazy, get some artwork done, and actually, get it out.
Yeah.
But it's been in the works for well over a year. you know.
Sure.
But
Yes.
yeah, like again, Gouger also has Dave that plays bass in Grave Ghoul, and he's also in Abysmal Decay. He's like me. He's a very busy man when it comes to music. So you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but yeah,
Do
I'm
you
I'm
have
always open to doing splits.
yeah,
That's great. Yeah.
but I mean, you're just releasing the album and you're just going to tour. But do you already have anything in mind for the next? In the for the next
Like what we can expect from
what
your
we can
next
expect
album.
would be
Oh,
something on the same track or
I mean, pretty much. I mean, there's a couple of tracks that I did record that didn't make it onto the album, so they'll be onto the
yeah,
next album.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I've honestly, my Dropbox folder is just full of, it's just full of songs. So, whatever makes it onto the next album, then yeah, it makes it on. So
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
it's all pretty much the same sort of stuff because we had this conversation last night on our live stream that if a band strays too far from their original sound, that's going to piss a lot of people off. Like hence why I started the Graveghoul project instead of just writing this type of death metal in my other project
yeah,
because Seven Doors that's more like your straightforward like death obituary,
yeah,
like old school American stuff like that. So I think if I started to do sludgy stuff in that project, it would have been a bit weird and people would have been annoyed. So if you're going to
yeah.
stray from what you're doing, just start a new project.
Yeah.
you know.
How many projects do you have so a part of Great Gold? You have to think about this, right?
I mean,
Browsing.
I'm I'm going to include Tenebro in that because I do play guitar for Tenebro sometimes, and a band that hasn't been officially announced yet. Six or
Oh.
seven, lots too many.
That's
Yeah,
You
well,
know.
yeah,
amazing,
no,
man.
it's
That's
amazing.
amazing.
Really.
Really amazing. But I wanted to ask you a funny question. Like, if
Okay.
if Grave Go were a film.
Yeah, we did the same question.
Yes, exactly. I think it will be a common question for
Yeah,
us.
common question.
So what film would it be, and who would direct it, and who would play your role?
So if Graveghoul was a film, who would?
Yeah.
Do you know what? Right, I actually watched the interviews that you did with Putridarium and Tenebro before doing this interview,
Yeah.
and I remember seeing that question with Hannes. It was
Yes.
it's a really cool question. So basically, the name, like the band name, I got from Night of the Living Dead. Right, the zombie at the start of the film that's in the graveyard. It's a grave ghoul, So
Yeah.
that's where I got the name from. So it would be probably something along the lines of Burial Ground from 1981. So it'll be like just like an Italian zombie film, you know.
Yeah.
Nice.
Probably directed by probably Lucio Fulci because he's my favorite Italian. He's my favorite Italian director. Like, I know that I know everyone says that it's either Fulci or Argento, but for me it's always going to be Fulci. You know,
Why not?
like he's just so fucking good. You know, like
I
all
love it.
all the horror stuff that he did was great. Even when it wasn't that good, it's still enjoyable. You know, like you still find some sort of good in it. But playing my role, I haven't got a fucking clue. You know, oh, I have
Oh, but
absolutely no
that's
idea.
nice.
Me, I'll play myself.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
that's a very
That's
nice
cool.
answer.
That's really cool.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So
God.
now I have a really really different question. So it's like a sentimental one.
Oh,
So for all of us for sure. So we have a feeling about our genre. So for the metal music, for the stream metal music, and so we have a community that for sure from the, I don't know, from the 90s, I started like listening to it like in the 90s. Uh, I know that it changed, but not like maybe in a bad way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you think about this new era of extreme metal music? So, what is your thoughts?
I mean, like the newer stuff, I'd say it's split into two different like categories, right? There's your like overproduced, polished like shit, basically.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is just like I can't really think of like the best way to describe it without being too insulting, but it's just so like it gets really stale, very boring, and stuff like that. But then you get all the bands that are coming out and doing the old school thing, that are really heavily influenced by stuff from the 90s and like even production wise, like you got bands that are coming out that sound like they were recorded like, at Morris Sound Studios in the 90s, like even like then again, even a lot of the old school bands, they do have that like that better production. But even with that good production, there's still a bit of dirt to it, other than like the bands that are just totally polished and it just all sounds like stale and like fake,
absolutely.
basically, But like on like one side of it, like I love it, which is all the dirty old school stuff, all the bands that are doing like kind of similar to what I'm trying to do, I guess, and then you've got those other bands that just all sound the same, because
Yeah,
like a lot of the bands that are doing the old school stuff, a lot of them are very unique. Like I know like Blood Incantation's kind of like a Marmite band, you either love them or you hate them. But like when you hear a Blood Incantation song, it's them, you know?
yeah.
So like a lot of the bands are very unique. And the same with like Sanguisuga Bog as well, for example. Like you can tell that it's them.
Sure.
And then there's like a load of other bands, they just all sound the same, and it's not really my thing. But yeah, like I'm all for the new stuff, but some of it I just completely ignore, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think that in UK you have like a really good community about metal music, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends on where you are in the UK because where I grew up, I was born in the southwest of the UK and I played like in Cornwall, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing happens in Cornwall, right?
Okay.
Like if you want to go to like a really good show, then you've got to travel maybe an hour, 2 hours
Yeah.
to the nearest city to go to it. I mean, there used to be a scene in Cornwall when I was in college and like I was a teenager and stuff. That's how I managed to get in some bands. But then suddenly everyone started to disappear and they all started to move to different cities because there was nothing happening in Cornwall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I was playing in my black metal band, like I had to travel like 3 hours on the train to get to where everyone else lived,
Yeah.
because everyone else lived like 2 counties away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was having to travel quite far to do that.
Yeah.
But then once you get past once you get past like Devon and you start getting towards like Bristol and like Birmingham and places like that, that's when you
Yeah.
start noticing that there's a lot more stuff happening.
Yeah.
Because about 6 or 7 months ago, my partner and I we moved up to St Anne's, which is near Blackpool, which isn't that
Ah,
far,
Yeah.
yes.
which isn't that far from Manchester.
Yeah.
It's about an hour away from Manchester, and there's always loads of good stuff happening in Manchester.
Yeah.
Like at the end of July, I went to a festival called Awful Fest, which is like a brutal death metal slam gore grind festival, and that's where fucking everyone was, it was so good,
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
so it has taken me 28 years to finally get out of Cornwall, and I finally did, and now things are starting to happen, because when we played that show in January, I travelled from Cornwall all the way up to Glasgow, and it took about 10 plus hours on the train. And I had to bring two guitars with me, a really big bag, because I was staying there for about 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
it it was a pain, but luckily now Glasgow's only 3 hours away from where I am now. So,
Yeah.
Sure.
you know, everything's so much easier. There's like so much more access to it up here. But yeah, there's always like really good bands coming out of the UK. Like people love going to shows, especially after the pandemic. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like before the pandemic. Well, yeah, there were still people coming to shows and stuff like that, but it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like filling out venues.
Yeah.
You know, but then after we got everything taken away from us at the start of the pandemic and no one was doing anything, as soon as shows started opening up again, everything was being sold out. You know, it was nuts. Yeah. It's still carrying on like that. You know,
Yes.
so
Yeah,
good.
honestly, we also love that area. I mean,
Yeah.
we have been sometimes already to Blackpool, to Manchester, to also to Glasgow. Actually, it's. I mean, we really love the mood of the area, and it's amazing. Not only in the metal scene, but just in the music in general. It's really amazing. Really, it's really interesting. Yes.
Oh yeah, there's loads of like weird and wonderful bands around Blackpool. You know,
Yeah. Yes.
it's great.
Yes. Well,
and so
yes.
I think that's all.
Yes.
But yeah, we really look forward to the new album.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we wish you really the most beautiful tour in Italy and to enjoy as much as possible, and then tell us what happened, because we really
yeah, no, I can't wait for people to hear the album. We've got a new single coming out on Wednesday. It'll be a music video as well. That was a lot of fun to shoot.
Nice.
you'll
you acted in the video? Or?
Well, we're not really acted. We just kind of like, it's just basically just guys playing guitar in a graveyard.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
So we just set up our gear and just kind of played along to the song in a graveyard. But yeah, no, you'll see it on Wednesday. It was good fun. It was good fun.
Amazing.
That's great.
Amazing. So guys, everyone, go and check it out. Okay.
Thanks a lot for your participation, and
thank you very, very much, Ryan, and we really appreciate you being with us tonight. And I really would like to ask you if you could stay with us on Zoom so we can say bye to each other. And thank you so much, and to everyone who watched. Bye.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Sure,
Thanks
you.
a lot.